Chapter. She, in 2014, was named in Forbes magazine's 30 Under 30 Leaders in Law and Policy. So again, please, from the privacy of your computers, join me in welcoming Amie Stepanovich.
Thank you so much, Margot. For everybody, when Margot and Scott asked me to do closing remarks for this conference, I very quickly said yes, because when Margot and Scott ask you to do something, you should say yes. And what I didn't really think about was that I now have to follow a day's roster of speakers that I have such a deep respect for. And I'm not totally sure how I can live up to that, but I'm going to try just to put a summary on the end of the day and provide what I think no conference is necessarily complete without, which is sort of a call of action moving forward. So since I entered the law and policy space a little over 10 years ago, one of the things that I caught on to really fast is that the right people are not in the room. And I want to focus on that concept. So to take a step back, a little bit about me, I am very privileged. I am clearly white, cisgendered, straight, and I carry that privilege with me wherever I go, and I try to recognize it in all different contexts. But I also come from a very different background than other people came to Washington, D.C. with. I was not from a wealthy family. In fact, I was from a family who struggled a lot with finances. I attended state school and didn't have an Ivy or a particularly prestigious education because I needed scholarships, and that's where they would take me. I didn't have a connected family. And in fact, my mother finished her degree when I was in middle school, I believe. And so we didn't have that connection into the policy or the legal space. And in addition to that, I faced the same exclusionary norms that still plague women across the tech law and policy space today, and still remember when I was just a brand new attorney being asked to fetch water and coffee for people who came to the office, even though there was somebody at the office who had the job of getting coffee, because I was the lawyer in the room who ostensibly was also, it was acceptable for me to fetch the coffee. So that is all to say, what I continually was privy to is that the room was dominated by the privileged. And even when people who were outside of that, the bubble of the most privileged, got to make it into the room, they were told implicitly, if not explicitly, that they and their opinions were not welcome. And it's not only the fact that that room is where the decisions are made, and that those decisions themselves then were coming from these privileged individuals, but the data was being driven by those individuals. And something I learned from remarks from Francella Cello actually a year ago at a Silicon Flatirons conference, the data isn't only, the people in the room are not only ignoring the marginalized communities within the data does not reflect those traditionally marginalized communities. Their data is not even being counted within the bodies of information that we're using to make decisions. And so to tie this back to privacy, as we've talked about throughout the day, the need for privacy is everywhere. Every company is probably a data company or on its way to becoming a data company. And the story of privacy is not only a story of power and privilege and control, but privacy is both the standalone right and a right that helps protect rights. We've talked about rights to speech and association, access to information and education, security, civil rights. We have to think about both of those aspects of privacy when we're looking at being able to provide a proper level of protection. Privacy, and more often a lack of privacy, impacts those in traditionally marginalized communities in a disproportionate way. And so this all brings me back to the call to action that I want to end us on. As many of us know, a privacy law for the United States is being actively debated right now. Whether or not it happens this year or next year or 5 years from now, it is currently the discussions that will lay the groundwork for that law are being engaged in at the moment. And the communities that we have been talking about today not only need to be included in those discussions, they need to be central to those discussions. But unfortunately, the people from those communities, they aren't there, they aren't being considered, and they aren't even visible frequently. And we have to fix this. We need more authentic voices and law and policy in the privacy space to ensure that whatever happens in a privacy law in the US, it doesn't further entrench bad policies and actually can protect those people who need it most. We need to promote people who offer those authentic voices, financially support them, and to not create false barriers to entry, either by requiring artificial levels of experience or education in order to give them jobs and positions. So I hope you'll all join me in that call to action going forward. I want to end with a huge thank you again to Scott and for Margot. Scott, I've said it before, your book is a public service. Thank you for writing it. I hope everybody picks it up. We've been dropping the link in the chat across the day. If you do pick it up, consider buying it at our local Boulder bookstore and supporting shopping local, even in our virtual environment. A huge thanks to the Silicon Flatirons team. We wouldn't be able to put this event together without them. Our operations director, Nate Mariotti, our events manager, Vanessa Koppel, Sarah Schnickren, who helps with our student programs, Kathy Coble, who helps with our community, our communications and our support. Thank you to all of you. I would be remiss if I don't thank our supporters. It's been an incredibly difficult year, as we all know, the last year, and our supporters have really stood up to allow us to continue to serve our community, to provide these events, and we are deeply grateful that they have continued to provide that support for us and for our community. And then thank you to all of you, to our attendees. We put these events on for you. We hope that you enjoy them and get something out of them. I've learned so much. I'm going to be processing the information that came in today for months to come. I hope all of you will process it as well. Thank you very much. I hope you have a really, really lovely day. I don't know if Scott or Margo want to come back on to end it, but I appreciate you and I'm deeply grateful for your time, attention, and energy. Thank you.
I'll just say, Amy, wow, that was so powerful, and thank you for that really perfect coda and conclusion to the day, and thanks for all the work that you've done in this space.